everyone. We are here today. I am with Matty Beckerman of IRCODE. And so we're going to talk about his business and what it's been doing and how innovative it is. We had a little chat before we came on stage, and I asked him to give me sort of this short version of it, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed myself. So we'll let Matty kind of give that sort of 2-minute description of what IRCODE is and what they're doing in the space.
Yeah, I think initially you could think of us as Shazam for image recognition. Ultimately, anything you scan with your phone, rather than having to have a QR code on it, suddenly you get information about it and it comes to life. So IRCODE stands for image recognition code. So instead of QR code, there's IR code. So you no longer need to add a QR code to a piece of content or to a piece of advertising or to a video. And we create real second screen experiences, and we're building lenses into other companies' apps. So think of Google Lens, Amazon Lens. Suddenly you could have the NBA lens. Suddenly you could have a lens for your business that actually is effectively cost-wise. And now everything in the world around you is scannable to the content that you want it to go to. When Google controls the lens functionality, it goes to where Google wants it to go. If you control it as a brand, you control your attribution and you control where your product is actually sent and how people connect to that product.
Nice, thank you. I thought two of the interesting things that you brought up was what you were doing in Times Square, and then the example of what you were doing with some jerseys with NFL players. Maybe you can just highlight how those come to life in real life.
Absolutely. So Times Square last week, we were working with Branded Cities, one of our big out-of-home partners, and we made billboards in Times Square scannable without a QR code. So we were working with a movie called Satisfied, which is a documentary about Renee Goldsberry from Hamilton and her story about being a mother and getting the Hamilton role, like right in the midst of that. So we made them completely scannable, like right from your phone without a QR code on it, and you could go and get interactive experiences behind it. And what that really does, and why part of our headline here, is how that solves attribution. Right? Because attribution in the out-of-home world right now is solved by you're measuring an IMEI of a cell phone walking past a billboard, and let's say it's a Nike ad, and then suddenly, like a few hours later, they walk into a Nike store, and you're saying, oh, that's attribution. In our case, it's actually direct engagement, and you could tell exactly who's engaging. So as an advertiser, without having to change your artwork, suddenly all of your out-of-home, all of your commercials on TV are scannable without having to have a QR code on it. And now you're solving, who your actual audience is. Was my ad effective? Did it get to the people I was engaged with? And then you're able to then retarget after that and say, this person was interested. I know that I can now go to that. But that's what we did in Times Square. So that was Branded Cities and working with their amazing content and amazing billboards.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that as you had stated when we were chatting, this will replace the QR code, which is...
We hope so.
an interesting ambition, and I love it. But I just was impressed with the fact that you're standing in Times Square, you put your phone up to a certain image, and essentially it does the exact same thing a QR code does. It will take you to that image. And then the other example that you had used was a player on the sidelines. You can wave your phone over the jersey, and then it will take you to go and buy that actual jersey.
Yeah, immediately. So imagine like every player on that field is suddenly scannable, and you could go immediately purchase. Or every commercial that's on TV is now scannable, and you as a brand can control where that destination goes.
Yeah,
I think that's incredibly important, is the actual control factor, because why let an AI search do your IP for you. You've spent billions of dollars to protect your brand IP. It better go to where you want it to go, especially if you have a sponsor of like a big sporting event or a giant concert. Your sponsorship information now is programmable. It should actually come up and work.
Nice. Very good. And I know you talked a little bit about this, but measurement's always the big question. How do you give advertisers proof points they need without kind of hindering on them being uneasy about privacy and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we can anonymize user data very simply, but you could tell who scanned it, like when they scanned it, and exactly where. We have a global heat map on the back end of our system, which will tell you how many times someone scanned, what they actually clicked on, the links that they went through, and then actually who your audience is. And let's say you have another campaign coming up, you can then build those audiences organically. And it's not bots, it's real people using it. And so you're getting organic data.
Nice, very cool. And you came into this as not a typical founder. You come from the film and entertainment world. How does that creative background influence how you started and have moved IRCODE forward?
Yeah, so I started in the music business and I played guitar in a band when I was 16, 17, and I got into college. And I couldn't be in the band anymore if I got into school. So I started a record label in my dorm room and ended up selling initially hundreds of thousands of records. And then I found bands that sold millions of records. And I sold the whole company to a mini major when I was still in my 20s. Then I started building soundtracks for film and TV. Then I started financing movies. Then I started directing movies. Anyway, I've had this career in that, but it was always from an artist perspective. I'm a creator. So we created IRCODE initially for the art world in order to protect artwork. Nobody wants to see a QR code on the Mona Lisa. So it's real IP protection. Because the image itself is the code, it's almost like a real NFT, meaning that we take down the fingerprint of that image and then you can match against it. So that, we're really doing IP protection at the same time, especially in an AI universe where, IP is stolen constantly to retrain different modeling systems. We actually have a level of security. If it's been IR coded, then your content is at least like registered and not completely protected because there's always nefarious characters out there. But that's the reason why I built this as an artist myself, to show that this is my work. I got provenance behind this. I know who created this. I know where it came from. So for a brand and for your logo and for your product, this is product protection at the same time as content recognition. So that's sort of the beauty behind it.
Nice, very cool. And this space in general, AR, VR, connected TVs, live events. I guess in a broader sense, where do you see this kind of visual tech world going?
Man, that's a big question. I mean, it's everything is going to be second screen. Everything we're bridging the physical universe in real life with the digital world, and it's already happened. Now it just depends who you want to control it. Do you want a big search engine company to control that, or do you want you as a creator to control your own content, and you as the brand or the image IP holder to be able to point someone to where you want it to go versus where some random search will go.
Nice. And IRCODE has been around for how many years now?
So the technology was developed by a German computer vision engineer, computer vision AI engineer named Philipp Holzschneider. And he patented that tech back in 2015. And I bought all the IP and brought Philipp on as my partner about 2.5 years ago. We started building sort of the most cutting edge, bleeding edge, using AI and vector databasing and neural networks and machine learning in order to bring this into, absolutely the most cutting edge today. So at this moment, with IRCODE, it's been about a year since we showed this to the public. And already we're just like closing these massive deals. Everybody we show this to, and we'll show you guys afterwards, you've got to come up to me and talk. A bunch of my team members are here. And I see a bunch of friends out there too. So.
Same here for me.
But we'll show you how it works. It's really seeing is believing, because people have been trying to do this forever. Make shoppable television, we've solved that. Make attribution work, we've solved that. Make in real world objects suddenly, scannable, we've solved that. And so there's other companies that are kind of doing different pieces of it, and it's fragmented. We've brought it all together into one very simple use that will, eventually, I think in about a year from now, this will be pervasive and everywhere, and everybody will have heard of us. But we're only really a year old from showing this out in the world. So the technology is groundbreaking, it's revolutionary, and it's going to change the entire way everybody connects with content and the entire way people can now measure your content's effectiveness.
Nice. And for brands sitting on the sidelines thinking this is too new or too experiential,
then they're too late.
Yeah.
Google's already doing it.
Right.
You pull out Google Lens, and Google's going to control where that scan goes. You bring out Amazon Lens, Amazon's going to control where that scan goes. You want your own lens. You want to be able to control your own environment and control your own IP. Why let another company control, what you've created?
Right.
Yeah. So it's already too late. If you're not in this, jump in and do it.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Is there any one major client or something that you've done recently that is something that you want to highlight, or?
Oh man, we have such cool deals happening right now. I got a few of our friends in the audience here. I can't talk about it yet.
Right. But, I figured there was probably a few that you kind of keep under wraps.
TV networks, Major League Sports. We've closed some huge deals to build lenses directly into their apps. When you go to a stadium, you'll be able to actually walk through the stadium and scan in a scavenger hunt throughout it. We just did a great one for the St. Louis Cardinals. We're working with major leagues, major teams, major broadcasters, and what's cool about it is it's not just scanning with a lens from your phone, but it's also on screen, on remote, on your television, and it's also directly just tapping the screen and being able to bring up all the information on it while you're actually watching on device. So we're doing a lot of those things now. I think branded cities is the one that we're really public about with the OOH space.
Okay.
And we're rolling that out to the branded cities partners who are advertising on their billboards, whether it's Times Square or down the Sunset Strip in LA or the Vegas Strip. They control a lot of big billboard space. So we're just starting to work with them, and we work as almost like an experiential agency under them with an increased CPM. So now the brands who are advertising on those boards will be able to, make an experiential piece out of every billboard that they put up. And I think that's, for the OOH world and DOOH, and the programmatic advertising world, it's so simple to do that, those are really exciting, because now solving attribution, creating, a deeper engagement with your audience, I think that's a revolution in a way of changing the way content is engaged with.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that is it for us. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you very much.